When I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
Why are they doing this? Trump their plan is off simply off billions win families.
That is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that is the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's too late with Alan Mosley.
And that's the truth. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the number one producer in late night. It's Dave Willimowski. Dave! How are you doing?
I don't know, man. I was doing pretty good. I was doing really good in that video. That was weird. That hurt. What the hell was that all about?
I know, we are bored. Resistance is futile. I saw where Elon Musk had offered a free Cybertruck to whoever was the first person to identify who wrote that cringe fest little ad read that all of those different Congress people all then recorded word for word exactly the same. It turns out, I think it was Cory Booker who was the one who actually put it together. I wasn't, unfortunately, the big winner who identified the culprit first. But I did ask Elon, can I still get a free Cybertruck for being the first person to call all of those representatives a faggot?
How'd that go over?
I hadn't heard back yet.
Yeah, not yet. I'm sure we'll get
not yet. Dave.
Right.
I got such a cool idea from our friends Shane and Nico. Let's start off the show tonight by playing a game.
Okay.
You and me, we're gonna play a game. Remember our game nights, man? Those were so much fun.
Oh, those got crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is a game called Guess What This Was in Response To. All right. Now, what we're gonna do is I don't remember telling you to hit that button. That's so weird, Dave. We have to start the entire monologue over because you literally messed up the first button. Literally. Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Okay. Hold on. Let me look at. Yeah. Hold on. I got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's too late with Alan Mosley.
Yeah.
I felt like that was better too.
Yeah. Oh my God, that video. Like the board right there. Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the number, it ain't number one anymore. Jesus Christ, this is 2 weeks in a row, buddy.
Top 10. Top 10.
Aren't there even that many late night shows? I don't.
I'm in there.
Yeah, it's like the person saying, "Man, I finished 8th in my heat at the Olympics, and there was 8 runners." But hey, they can never take that away from you, can they? That's right. It's Dave Willimowski. Dave, what the hell is that? What are you doing?
I participated.
What are you doing? Jesus, man. Well, let's just go ahead and fix this real quick.
Yeah, might as well. Let's get her done. I'm doing all right, I was doing a lot better before I saw that video. That was really weird.
Yeah.
Look, it's doing that again. I'm getting letterboxed. That's what it is. It's like cinematic.
I swear to God. Yeah. So anyway, Elon Musk joke. They're all faggots. Am I right? So Dave, I thought that the best way for us to start the show tonight would be for us to play a game. Remember our game nights? I actually saw somebody in chat said, I miss Mondays. Man, those were the days. We gotta bring those back. Good. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is a game called Guess What This Was in Response To. And so the way this game works is that remember in the pre-show in the green room when I told you I was going to explain the game and then I would tell you when to hit the button and then you just do whatever you feel like anyway.
I went rogue.
Yeah. So the way this game works is I'm gonna show you a tweet, and I'm gonna read you this tweet, and then after I finish reading you the tweet, you're gonna guess what was that tweet in response to.
Ooh,
are you ready?
Pressure. Yeah.
All right.
Guess.
All right. Check this out. So let's check out. This was the response tweet. What biblical time are we in? The end times. The great falling away has begun. Man of sin will be revealed. Republican beast 666 system will intensify and militarized. Iran will decimate Israel. EU will separate from America, then decimate America.
Wow.
Repent. Wow.
Wow.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What was that in response to, do you think?
I can't even begin to. There's nothing that feels that wild going on right now.
All right.
Maybe.
Well, let's see the response. That was in response to this. That's right. IHOP is giving away free pancakes for National Pancake Day. Here's when to get them.
Not what I thought it was going to be. Wow. Free pancakes?
I love the internet.
Yeah.
I do. I think we should play that game again in a future week. All right. Topping off tonight's stories, that's right, America's sweetheart Casey Anthony is back in the news. Apparently, Miss Anthony has started a TikTok.
Oh, good.
Where in her first video, she claimed to be a, quote, LGBTQ ally. How about that?
Okay.
Now, here's to hoping that her TikTok career is just a springboard to bigger and better things, because we need more LGBTQ allies on the big screen.
Oh yeah, he was a big supporter. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, he couldn't get enough of them. Speaking of needing more allies, you won't believe this. A gay couple from the United States is actually trapped overseas. Oh. Check this out. These two gentlemen spent $107,000 to have twins with a surrogate in Cyprus. But now they say the country won't allow them to leave with their children. Imagine that, Dave. Cyprus won't let those two pedophiles human traffic two children they bought. I can't. And you won't even guess this. The children are little boys.
No,
I can't believe it. Oh, my God. Dave, who would you rather have for parents? Casey Anthony or those two gay guys?
Oh, man. That's a rock and a hard place there, huh?
That's true. I know. One of them may fill you full of holes, and the other one will fill your... Yeah.
Whoa.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is back in the news. Pictured here up close in an HD to shatter any illusions you guys may have about her. AG Bondi announced that the infamous Epstein files would be redacted of anything that is, quote, a threat to national security.
Wait a minute.
Surprising, of course, that the clients of an international pedophile ring and the people who operated it would be a threat to U.S. security. But listen to this. You're not going to believe this. We actually have an It's Too Late exclusive here tonight, an advance copy of one of the redacted pages from the Epstein files. Here, take a look at it.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. I wonder who that is behind there.
It's redacted. No one.
I guess we'll never know, will we? Finally, this evening, Nicole Wallace of MSNBC is under fire for comments she made in regards to young DJ Daniel, the cancer survivor that was honored by Donald Trump last night during a speech. Here, take a look at this clip.
He wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
That's outrageous. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that she would say such a thing about that poor kid. You know, I don't know what's worse, using the moment to make a crude remark about J6 or wishing him a long life as a cop. Now, I, for one, hope that he lives the life of everyone's favorite member of the 5-0.
Oh. I know that guy.
Do you? You know that guy?
Well, not personally.
Real quick, guys, let me remind you, get your tickets for the 7th annual It's Too Late live show. Imagine not wanting to see a live episode of this right here.
Oh, could you imagine an unrecorded live episode?
God, the energy in that room. No, us knowing that it's not going to be recorded. Oh. I'm going to tell you so many jokes about these two guys. One with $1 and one with 98 cents. Anyway, get your tickets at the link in chat down below. 7th annual It's Too Late live show, Saturday, May 17th in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee. Guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week in the viewer mail right after this commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So, Dave, listen to this.
All right.
This past weekend, I got a group of my friends together, and we were going to watch this movie. There's this movie that I first saw back in college called The 25th Hour. Came out in like 2002. It was like the first big movie that was filmed right after 9/11. And I watched it in school, and man, I thought this movie was great. It has Edward Norton in it and Rosario Dawson and that one guy who died, the chubby dude,
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm glad that the chubby dude who died is, of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
It's on my radar.
Yeah. All right. And so I wanted to share this with my friends because this is really important to me. Right? Like, it's really important to me to take things that I really enjoy and I want to share them with the people who are special to me. But I had this one friend. I had this one friend who he just talked. He just talked and talked through the whole movie. He's just talking. Yeah. And there's even other people going like, shh. But he just keeps talking.
I heard that.
Sometimes it's not even about the movie. It's just, it's whatever. He's just checking his phone. He's just paying his bills. He's updating his print drivers. It's just whatever instead of focusing on the task at hand. And so anyway, I just wanted to get it off my chest that I could not imagine doing something like that. It's so rude, but I definitely couldn't imagine doing it knowing that a good friend of mine was sharing something that was really important to them, and for me to just shit on it, by not giving it my full attention. So anyway, hey Dave,
it's good to let that out. Yes, Alan.
What time is it?
It's time for meme of the week.
Because I'm non-binary, and Fred is the name that fits me best. And I also use they and them, because calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me.
That'll do.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to handle the problem. But we do have a bonus meme. Check out the bonus meme.
Oh no.
Okay, so I trade my soul to suck dick. That's the deal.
It's a good deal.
It's a good deal.
What makes your soul so special?
I don't know.
That's a good deal.
I don't like that deal.
That's a good deal. What makes your soul so special? All right. Let's since we got to get through the viewer mail really quick tonight because we've got such an awesome guest. We've got my good friend Hunter Dorenzis coming back to give us some updates on Defend the Guard. But before we do that, let's answer the viewer mail.
Man, I'm still upset about your friend. That was rude.
Yeah, I'm upset about having to restart the monologue myself.
That's understandable.
Could you imagine those two things being linked?
No.
The heat. Celeste Annis writes, Dear Alan and Dave, what is your favorite kind of pudding? That's got to be banana. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's up there.
Like the banana with the bananas and the little wafers and the little sprinkles. Yeah,
well, that's like bonus additives there. I don't know if that counts.
Well, that's the only correct way to make it.
You can't just eat it plain.
How?
That'd be weird, huh?
Yeah. Who would do that? Ridiculous. And the objectively correct answer is banana, so I'm not going to allow Dave to answer. Aaron Kittner writes, Dear Anna Dave, if you were invited to join a secret society, would you?
Ooh.
Well, I guess if it's a secret society, then Dave and I wouldn't talk about it.
No, we wouldn't say anything.
Actually, Dave and I did join the secret society. Remember, you and E? We joined the SEA secret society, and then they had this whole buffet for us, and we ate the whole thing live on the show. It was amazing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Remember the secret? Yeah, the secret society. Remember that?
Yeah, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was weird how good it was. All right, it was a lot better than Taco Bell, definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We bit off a little bit more than we can chew on that one, I think.
That was a lot of Taco Bell.
It's starting to get to be a little while since we've done one of those. I'm starting to get nervous that the audience is going to expect another edition.
Going to demand it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what the next one's going to be. Well, you know what? We'll give a $10 Amazon gift card to whoever comes up with the best idea for what our next food challenge is going to be.
I'm going to work on that.
Okay. Well, you can't win it.
Oh, come on.
You're getting to do the thing. You don't. Yeah. You're getting to do it. All right.
Lucky me.
Andrew Avery writes, Dear Alan and Dave, would you argue with a broken pencil or is that pointless?
Oh.
I feel like I've instructed you before explicitly to not just always hit the laugh button on Andrews.
Yeah.
But you do it.
I think so.
But you don't use the laugh react for all the punchlines in the monologue.
No.
The one that did, I actually did it myself.
Don't tell him. It ruins the magic.
Yeah. Oh no, see, you guys, like, this actually is Dave. This is Dave. And see, I touched Dave and things happen.
Oh no.
See that? Yeah. And just like that, I turned Dave off. It would be the first time I did. All right. Tom Anderson writes, Dear Alan and Dave, which group has the lower IQ? Ukraine supporters or meth addicts?
Oh, wow.
That sounds awfully politically to be on the viewer mail.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if this Tom character doesn't actually watch this show.
No. Why would he write in?
Plus, is the IQ of the meth addicts before or after use?
Yeah, because before, usually like drug users actually have a high IQ and they use the drugs to kind of quiet their brain down. But
wow.
Of course, then, yeah.
Yeah. How long? Yeah, 205 days until I quiet my brain down. So, Let's see. Gary Dykstra writes, Dear Alan and Dave, have you ever tried eating the bugs? Have you ever done it, Dave? You ever eaten the bugs?
Yeah, I've actually done it on our live stream.
Oh, that's right. You did eat the bugs. Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, they're not good. I mean, some of them are okay, but not in their bug form. Not a fan.
Okay. Wow, I forgot that. I forgot that you did that. Yeah. You'll just do anything. This is crazy. Yeah, I don't even feel bad about telling you have to do stuff because you'll just do it. You'll do shit. If you don't do it here, you'll just do it there. You know, it's just like
born to entertain.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And finally this evening, Mary Lynn Wilimowski writes, Dear Alan and Dave.
Oh, I didn't see this one.
If you were facing 7 years in prison, just like Monty in the 25th hour, how would you spend your last 24 hours before going away? Why, thank you, Mary. Thank you for watching a movie that I really enjoyed and giving it your full attention and even calling back to key plot points from the film a week later.
She said she liked it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad that I got to share that with you. So, Dave, Monty was the name of the main character, Edward Norton, from the movie The 25th Hour.
Oh, I remember Monty. Yeah.
And the plot of the whole film is that this is his last day free before he goes to prison for 7 years. So with all of that information, if you were in the position of Monty, how would you spend your last 24 hours?
You know what I would do? I'd probably do a 16, double at work. Get some stuff finished up, before, because everybody else is just going to screw it up, and I might as well get them set up so that at least the first couple weeks will be a little smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And spend some time with my kids after that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I tell you what, I guess it kind of depends on how far into the rabbit hole we're going. Like, am I Monty or am I me? Because if I'm Monty, I'm doing 23-year-old Rosario Dawson for 24 hours.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's some pills.
Yeah. Yeah. Those things, the rhino, that protein mix that I keep showing you. Yeah. That we're gonna sell on our store. Yeah. The rage.
The real male vitality.
Yeah. But if it's me, I don't know. I feel like if it were me, if I had already decided that I wasn't going to make it through 7 years, then by God, I would do something to make sure that 7 years was to life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like we're going to end the Fed.
Yeah, doing this right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like how there's people in chat who get the rage reference. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to have printed out on 2x3 foam boards at the live show, since it's not going to be recorded. So
no.
But you know what? Probably don't listen to people who go to the live show.
Yeah, they're going to tell lies.
Yeah, don't listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, we're going to be back with my good friend Hunter Dorenzis of the Libertarian Institute, regular contributor, American Conservative, as well as, of course, the communications director of Bring Our Troops Home, right after this commercial break. Don't go away.
You got butterscotch pudding in your carpet. Let's get it out. Don't be scared. You gotta do this stuff calmly and quickly before your mama get home and beat your ass. So first you just scrape off the excess and put it in the bowl. Ooh, this look like shit. Alright, then you add liquid dish soap and go in with your hand. Just mix it. Then get a paper towel and just scrub it. No, this shit ain't gonna work. Get a spoon and just scrape off the soap and put it in a bowl. Then add some water and then scrape it off with a paper towel. Bruh, my whole fucking carpet is white. Fuck the napkin. Get a paper towel. I mean, not a paper towel. A towel and then scrub it and let it dry and then it should clear up and then it should be clear. Damn, this took forever. Almost had a heart attack. God.
Man, you know, you remind me of somebody.
Who?
You remind me of, I think, of Will Smith.
Maybe.
You get that a lot, huh?
Yeah, I did.
There exists a world that you can only reach between 4:20 and 4:24 a.m. Before you travel, I must advise you of a few rules. Rule number 1, do not stop moving. The moment you stop, your exit becomes more distant, and if you stop for too long, the exit will become unreachable. Rule number 2, if you hear footsteps or running behind you, do not turn around. Just run until it stops. Rule number 3, always keep a smile on your face, no matter how much the muscles in your face hurt. Once you stop smiling, they will know you are not one of them. That's all. Good luck.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest this evening is, of course, a movie critic, as well as a regular contributor at the American Conservative, editor at the Libertarian Institute, as well as the communications director of Bring Our Troops Home. Here today to give us an update on one of their leading causes, which is, of course, Defend the Guard. Hunter Durenzis, welcome back to the show.
Alan, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be back here. My understanding was the interview was just going to be about the Academy Awards. Is that incorrect?
We're definitely going to save time for the Academy Awards. I'll tell you what, I've never even heard of the movie Anora until this morning.
I loved it, so we'll definitely carve out time.
All right, perfect. So let's start off kind of really basic for people who have never heard of us, who've never heard of Defend the Guard. We'll assume that the audience is brand new to the topic. So Defend the Guard, which is legislation that's being introduced in several states around the country. Of course, it's legislative season right now, which is why, for people who know that I do a little bit of work behind the scenes for the 10th Amendment Center, that's why I'm doing this and ripping my hair out around this time of year. Defend the Guard. So what exactly is Defend the Guard, and what is it trying to accomplish?
So Defend the Guard is a state-level bill which would prohibit the deployment of a state's National Guard into active combat overseas unless Congress votes to declare war. Now, that's already a requirement by Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. And what Defend the Guard is it adds more teeth to that. As I'm sure your audience is well aware, the United States Congress has not declared war since World War II. And as a consequence of that, we've gone into so many endless wars without accountability, without a vote by the people's elected representatives. And there's an enormous group of people in this country, particularly veterans, who want to see that change. And they recognize that the people on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., they don't have the spine to do it. They don't have the backbone to assert what is their congressional prerogative. So what we want to do is introduce these bills in states, and we've introduced well over 30 in different state legislatures this session, and use state sovereignty and the American classic ideal of federalism to rein in the federal government, require that the federal government obey what is already federal law, and tell Congress that either you vote to declare war and actually follow the rules, give some accountability to yourselves, and give the due of what is owed our soldiers, or you cannot use our National Guard to fight these undeclared, illegal, unconstitutional, and all too often unnecessary wars. So it's really throwing down the gauntlet to Washington, D.C.
Well, my next question was going to be to kind of state the constitutional case, but I think you already did that. But let's talk a little bit about how Defend the Guard has evolved. So when was Defend the Guard first written and first introduced, and kind of what sort of headway has been made from then to this current session?
So the concept of states asserting their prerogative over their National Guard is very old. You can see precedents that aren't really the same, but have some similarities going all the way back to the 1950s and even earlier. There were even states during the War of 1812 who didn't want their militias to fight in that war, which was constitutionally declared, but they disagreed with it so strenuously, they just didn't want to be involved. You see several examples pop up, like in Oregon, Maryland, around the 2008-2010 era. And actually, the 10th Amendment Center wrote a very similar bill around that time and put it forward as one of their signature pieces of legislation that they wanted states to get involved with. And then a great legislator, honestly, I think one of the greatest Americans we have today, a fellow named Pat McGeehan, who's a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, served in the Middle East, and is a delegate in the West Virginia House of Delegates. He introduced a bill when he was just a freshman in 2014, and he called it Defend the Guard. And it was based on the 10th Amendment Center's bill, updated with some edits and clarifications. And he really championed that. He introduced it every single session going forward. And unfortunately, for the most part, it didn't go very much. But sometimes you just need that one lone champion to kind of keep the light burning until the rest of the country and other patriots really wake up to what's necessary. And the organization I work for, Bring Our Troops Home, we adopted Defend the Guard as kind of our cornerstone project way back in 2020. And from there, we took Pat's bill, and he's still introducing it today, and it's still trying to move it forward in West Virginia, and he gives some of the greatest speeches you'll ever hear. I mean, you can compare it to any of the great speeches in American history, this man describing why he believes this bill should pass. They're incredible, and I believe people should check those out on YouTube, on the Bring Our Troops Home YouTube page. But we adopted the bill in 2020. We got it introduced, I think, immediately right off the bat in about a half dozen states. And from there, we've just kept progressing year after year after year. And every year, we get it closer to being signed into law. As I said previously, it's currently introduced in, I believe the precise number is 32 state legislatures in 2025. And since we adopted it, we've passed the Arizona Senate twice, and we expect it to become a third time just this week. We passed the New Hampshire House of Representatives. We passed the Idaho Senate. And we're really moving this bill forward and making it become the national issue that it ought to be.
Now, let me hit you with a question. Shout out to our friend Mike Meharry, also from the 10th Amendment Institute, because this was a question that he thought would be interesting to discuss. So, Defend the Guard, trying to protect an individual state's National Guard, keep them out of undeclared wars, keep them. Think of all the recent news we've had with natural disasters and the like, and how, boy, I sure wish we had a state militia that could be called up to help in situations like this, but unfortunately they're in Syria or Libya or God knows where. But it seems like whenever there's trouble overseas as opposed to close to home, National Guards all around the country are being mobilized. And I think the layman, in the same way that the layman doesn't get like, well, wait a minute, if a war's supposed to be declared, then why are the Guard being sent in the first place? I think a layman also is wondering, well, I thought we had I thought the federal government had a national military. I didn't realize that the individual state guards of Tennessee or West Virginia or wherever have to go to all these different, peacekeeping missions or whatever. How much exactly does the Pentagon rely on a state National Guard for it to do its bidding?
To keep up the posture, the military posture that our foreign policy currently has, the National Guard is absolutely essential to Pentagon operations. Now, that's a relatively new thing. I'm sure many of your listeners and viewers recall that during the Vietnam War, some people, like, for example, the coward John Bolton, he actually signed up for the Maryland National Guard specifically because he did not want to be deployed to Vietnam, even though he supported the war. So that was that was the view of the National Guard. Oh, they're domestic. You're in the military, but you're not going to actually be sent in the combat. So you're quote unquote safe. And that has really changed over the previous decades, starting with the global war on terror and following 9/11 in 2001, where during that time period, we have wars going on in Afghanistan, wars going on in Iraq, operations in so many other countries, whether it be Yemen or Libya or then Syria, etc. And the National Guard really became a necessary foundation, what I would say is the backbone of the U.S. military. People want to talk about special forces and Green Berets and the tough job they have. But actually, the National Guard, our citizen soldiers, the ones that some critics that I disagree with deride as weekend warriors, these are the people who are actually making our military the force that it is. And during the global war on terror, almost 50% of the soldiers deployed overseas into combat were National Guardsmen, and they incurred about 18% of the casualties. Just right now, we have thousands of troops deployed to Syria. Many of them are National Guardsmen, and that's a war that was never authorized by an AUMF, never had a declaration of war by Congress, no invocation of the War Powers Act, blatantly illegal, but yet we have National Guardsmen there occupying in a combat zone, getting fired upon, having to fire back. And it's just a terrible thing that I think it really represents how bad the priorities of the federal government are right now. There is a slogan that was popular back during the initial invasion of Iraq that went that you can either care about Baghdad or your own backyard, and you can't care about both. And I think it really goes to show something that just in your home state of Tennessee, when your state was impacted by Hurricane Helene back in the fall, the hurricane touched down, I believe, on September 28th is when it hit East Tennessee. On September 29th, 700 Tennessee National Guardsmen were deployed to Fort Bliss, Texas for their final training before a few weeks later being deployed to the Middle East for a one-year deployment. And I think you'll never get a better side-by-side headline of what the federal government actually cares about. And the whole purpose of Defend the Guard is trying to reorient the government back to the domestic sphere, care about our borders, not borders overseas, care about the American people, not people overseas, prioritize our needs, and if you have to, use the National Guard to fulfill those needs. But if the National Guard is ever going to be deployed into war, then the members of Congress should put their names on the dotted line before our boys and girls put their boots on the ground.
Now, that's a heck of a number. You said upwards of 50%. I think that if you, I'm positive that the person walking down the street, if you told them, did you know that half of the entire nation's National Guardsmen are being deployed to X, Y, and Z? I think that they would have thought, well, I must have missed the news of World War III. I had no idea that such a thing had started. It just seems unfathomable to be such a huge number when we're being told constantly, oh, this is an era of peace. Thank goodness we're not at war anymore with anyone. Well, it's certainly a shock to me. But so we've already talked about kind of it's an airtight constitutional case. We all agree that, that's what we're taught in school, right? Is that Congress is the one that has the ability to declare war. That's the way that we don't have tyrannical executives that can get the United States involved in overseas meddling, all the things that Washington talked about. So in that case, then you would think that, well, Defend the Guard shouldn't be necessary, but if it is, then it should easily pass in all 50 states. If that's just clearly the way things ought to be anyway, you're just adding, as you put it, sort of adding teeth to it to make sure that it stays that way. So what exactly are the obstacles that different state legislators run into when they're trying to introduce Defend the Guard in their state?
The primary obstacle, as every libertarian should realize, is the government.
No.
I know. Breaking news. I hope you have a little bulletin underneath me.
Okay.
The thing that we primarily run into when we introduce these bills when it comes to opposition is from the state adjutant generals. Now, those are the state sort of advisors to the governor. They work on behalf of the National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C., which is under the Pentagon. They're normally 1-star brigadier generals, 2-star major generals, and they despise Defend the Guard for several reasons. Primarily, it is, one, a threat to the foreign policy that our country has conducted over the past 25 years. And because these men are entrenched in the bureaucracy, because they have built their entire careers on the backs of these endless wars, they do not want to see that come to an end. Secondly, it is a threat to the gravy train. Obviously, if we're not able to fight these endless wars, then certain military contractors are not getting paid. And, that's not good for anybody. So we have adjutant generals pull out every stop to try and squash these bills once our organization, Bring Our Troops Home, is able to get them introduced. That includes lobbying legislators, and I'm talking actually a uniformed major general going down the halls of a state capitol, walking into offices, sitting down legislators, and pressuring, I would say threatening them, you will not vote for this bill or else. And that is the threat they get. And that also goes to them testifying in public before hearings in full uniform, stars on their shoulders, a uniformed military officer of the United States dictating to legislators on how they should vote. It sounds like something that shouldn't be happening in this country, but it happens every day, and it's something that our organization deals with every day. The primary threat that they come out with is that if you do this, you will be punished. Your state National Guard will be defunded. Your troops will lose their pay. You will lose your equipment. We will shutter bases. We will make your state a wasteland and give these resources to someone else if you don't play ball. The answer is, the demand is sell your soul, sell your kids for this amount of federal dollars. And that's sort of the gauntlet they throw down. And it's it's sort of the dividing line, you can say, with legislators. Some legislators we work with, they're instantly just a refusal to the general. No, I won't bargain my soul. I won't deal with the devil. I am not willing to lay down our laws and our soldiers for your federal money. No. And those are the real patriots. And then there's other legislators who that makes them certainly very antsy, and they need a lot of cooperation. They need explanation, and sometimes they need political pressure from the grassroots to make sure that they stay in line and uphold the law. Because at the end of the day, this threat is a paper tiger. It really does not exist, and for several reasons. First off, in U.S. code, there's only one mechanism with which a National Guard can be defunded by the federal government. And that is if it is not meeting its readiness standards for Title 32 missions. Now, for any of your viewers who don't know, Title 32 missions are domestic deployments. Think when a Guard is mobilized by the governor for, say, responding to a flood or another natural disaster, or when the Guard is deployed to the border, or when they're activated sort of for any kind of domestic mission under the governor's purview. And Title 10 orders and deployments, those fall under the president when they are mobilized under the president, usually for foreign operations. Now that can include overseas training, which Defend the Guard legislation does not interfere with, or it can include combat. And what Defend the Guard does is it puts a law on the books empowering the governor to stop that Title 10 activation before it happens. Because once they're activated into Title 10, the governor has no authority. There's nothing a state can do. But Defend the Guard undercuts that. So there's nothing stopping Defend the Guard. Once it's in law, it's not preventing Title 32 deployments or interfering with that whatsoever. So there's no way that the Guard could be defunded just simply by bureaucratic fiat. It would take an act of Congress. And Congress is not going to vote to defund a state's National Guard. I can guarantee you that, just your state senator, Marsha Blackburn, she's a real hawk. I doubt she really likes this bill, but I can guarantee you if it passed in the state of Tennessee, and members of the United States government said, well, we have to defund the Tennessee National Guard. We just got to abolish it to punish them. I guarantee you she'd oppose that. I guarantee you she'd stand up for her state. And there's just no political will, and certainly should never be political will, to punish a state for enforcing what is already federal law. So the fact that the National Guard Bureau and these adjutant generals show up to hearings in their fancy uniforms, making demands, but with empty hands, no proof besides conjecture, I think really goes to show that their power is just an illusion. And the power really does rest with the sovereign legislators of the sovereign states if they're willing to use it. And the last thing I'll add is that we are currently lucky enough to be under an administration where several high-profile members of Donald Trump's cabinet support this bill. Our legislation, the Defend the Guard Act, has been endorsed by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. It has been endorsed by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. It's even been endorsed by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's so many high-profile members, and I'll throw in there Joe Kent, an incredible veteran and a great guy who's working under Director Gabbard as the new director of the Counterterrorism Center in D.C. He supports this bill. Almost the entire national security appointments of Donald Trump support Defend the Guard legislation. But just like you saw in his first term, it is the permanent bureaucracy, it is the lifelong bureaucrats who are undermining the civilian appointees and working against the agenda of this new administration in many things, but I would say also with Defend the Guard. And that's why you have so much battles, all of these battles going on between my organization and our veteran supporters and the patriots who love us and love this country and love the Constitution, and the people who are frankly paid to show up to oppose this bill because it's good for the country, but bad for their personal agenda.
Well, that's an interesting, which by the way, Hunter, you're so good. You're answering all of my next questions before I've had a chance to ask them. But I think there's that interesting sort of paradigm between, which you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I'm not a military guy, but isn't it true that active military are not allowed to engage in this sort of political activity? They can't be in uniform and be going and giving public speeches and endorsing this, that, and the other. And so when you're talking about a lot of veterans, people who are retired from military service, and that's certainly a powerful part of it, that you have a lot of these former servicemen, people who have been in the trenches, who have been deployed, who are coming back home, and after their service is over, saying, no, this wasn't right. This is not the way our National Guards should be treated. And yet that there's that striking paradigm against then, the generals with the medals covering their chests, who've never won a war in their life, by the way, being flown in on a private jet to offer all these legislators free helicopter rides and to testify about how damaging it would be if this legislation got passed. I mean, obviously that's hypocritical, but I guess, not naive, simple Alan, I just thought that was a no-no. I thought it was a no-no for there to be these uniformed current members of the military going into state legislators telling them, oh, no, you can do this, but you can't do that. I thought that there was very firm demarcation lines between these two sides, that was sort of activity. Again, in the same way that, if you or I were low-level servicemen and we were going and testifying, I mean, they would throw us in the brig, right?
I believe that paradigm is completely correct. And you're right. It is a blatant hypocrisy. Many of the people who we have come testify for these bills and hearings are veterans, and they come and they say, I served in the National Guard and I believe you should pass this bill, or I served in the Army, or I won the Purple Heart and I believe you should pass this bill. What we don't have, unfortunately, is currently serving National Guardsmen showing up because they would face reprisals. Our bill is very popular among currently serving members of the military. But if they show up to a hearing, identify themselves, or God forbid, wear a uniform, and say, I support this bill, which says that the state and the Constitution is going to decide what mission I go on, not my superior officer, or not the president if he chooses to disobey the law, then yes, they could be subject to reprisals. They could be subject to punishment. Just in Montana, which I'm very happy to report that our bill there, HB 404, successfully passed committee on a motion to reconsider just today, and it will be moving forward. We had presented to the committee multiple anonymous letters written by members of the Montana National Guard who support the bill and wanted it to be known to these legislators that they supported this legislation. they had to write these anonymous notes to be presented by others because they cannot show up to testify. Whereas you still have the Adjutant General of Montana showing up to testify in uniform because the rules are for you and me, but not him. I think it's a very unfortunate state of affairs. And it sort of speaks to a larger problem, not just for Defend the Guard, but the fact that we have so much taxpayer-funded lobbying in this country, where adjutant generals or other members of the government can use resources like military helicopters to bring members of the legislature on joyrides and try to convince them, oh, look at these shiny objects. You know, if you vote for this bill, we might not have this helicopter. I can't guarantee that. And then you can't go on rides anymore. And that's a situation that happened in Montana, and it's happened in other states as well. So yes, I think it does speak to something of an enormous hypocrisy in our current system. And I think it's very important for people to remember that the soldiers who are currently serving, who are unable to speak out about this, that makes it even more important that you speak out about it, that you take action, because you need to be a voice for the voiceless. You need to stand up for these men and women who want to make a sacrifice and are doing a lot for this country. And it's not right that they can be deployed into war and face death without even a vote by their elected representatives. That's wrong, and as Americans, we should be able to say that's wrong. And you shouldn't have to be a veteran to be able to say that. And many of the people who are speaking for our bill aren't veterans. They just care about the law, they care about this country, they care about the troops. And that's a beautiful thing, and I really hope we see more of it going forward.
Well, I know earlier you had mentioned really briefly Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, as well as Director of National Security Tulsi Gabbard, which, boy, talk about if I had asked you like 3 years ago, let me tell you who these appointments are going to be. I don't think anybody would believe you. But on the one hand, I feel like, sure, it's a big deal to have these high profile people now currently in the heights of the new presidential administration coming out with full throated endorsements of something like Defend the Guard. On the other hand, you know, it's like new boss, same in the old boss. It feels like a lot of times where there's a new administration. You feel like, and I'm loath to talk about politics more generally. I told you that before the show, but we'll have to muscle through it for just a moment. It feels like that these endorsements, while an initial kind of bump in notoriety of the legislation and what it means to people, but there's this constant tug of war, right? There's this constant tug of war behind the scenes, even in the new administration. You talked about kind of the difference between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0. And for all the differences, a lot of things still have stayed the same. Whereas you have talking heads on one side of the administration saying, yes, we promote X, Y, and Z in our agenda. We favor these pieces of legislation. And yet you have that God forbid I use the words deep state, that permanent bureaucracy, right? The unelected, that you and I have no control over, who seem to have endless resources. I also wanted to mention these handsome fellas. I wanted you to take a second here in just a moment to introduce us to everybody in that picture. But, you know, I know that the guys in that picture, in fact, don't have endless resources thanks to the American taxpayer to try to support our boys and girls at home. And yet it seems like the forever deep state bureaucracy does. And I don't even know if I really have a question for that, other than to say it seems like a damn shame that even though you try to slowly collect more and more allies to the cause, there's always that, you know, that the people against you seem to have endlessly deep pockets. Right. And I know that that's incredibly frustrating. But before we completely run out of time, because I know we have a couple other things to discuss, who are those handsome gentlemen right there? And tell us a little bit more specifically what people listening can do to help those guys and Defend the Guard.
So in that picture is my good friend and co-worker, Diego Rivera, who's the Director of Field Operations for Bring Our Troops Home. And right in the middle there is my boss, best boss you could ever ask for, Dan McKnight, who's the chairman and founder of Bring Our Troops Home. And together we are the three-man team running the only organization, the only national organization that makes Defend the Guard a priority. And I can tell you that the endorsement from Secretary Hegseth and Director Gabbard have been absolute blessings. We are grateful for that support. Dan just had a private meeting with Secretary Hegseth back in December after his nomination to discuss the legislation further, and he was still very much on board. But I can tell you that with his endorsement has come a lot more flack. We are getting hit harder in states like Tennessee and Montana more this year than any year previously. The adjutant generals are going all out to stop these bills because Hegseth's endorsement and his reforms at the Pentagon have just made them even angrier. And that means we need even more resources to combat that. And what do I mean by resources? I mean volunteers and I mean cash. And I encourage everyone to visit defendtheguard.us/phone bank and sign up for our phone bank operations. Volunteer your time, couple hours a week. It's completely free. Diego will train you how to do it. And it feels good to give back. You can also visit bringourtroopshome.us and go to our donate page. Make a regular contribution. Chip in $10 a month, because I can't emphasize it enough that we need to overcome the stigma of libertarians accurately being the laziest political operators. We claim to care about human liberty. We claim to care about people's rights. We claim to want to save our country. But I can tell you, from being in this organization, far too few actually mean it, and far too few are willing to put their money where their mouth is. If you're a libertarian, if you give a damn about the things you say you care about, you need to act on them. And that can be giving money to bring our troops home. That can mean volunteering to make phone calls for Defend the Guard bills in your state or other states. That could mean, in my personal life, I give money monthly to the Mises Institute. All of their books are free PDFs online, but I still buy the physical copies. I bought a lifetime membership to Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom because I support what he does. If you're a libertarian and you care about these things, whether that's foreign policy and Defend the Guard, or whether that's regulation, or whether that's gun rights, you damn well better do something about it, because otherwise you're not making a positive contribution. And it was Ron Paul who said that once you become aware of these things, you have an obligation to do something about it. And I encourage all of your viewers to do something about it. Please donate. Please volunteer. We need the help. And this movement is only going to succeed if you do something about it.
Well, that is well said, and I want to say on a personal note, I know that with my work with the 10th Amendment Center, we're told all the time from state legislators when we have a chance to ask them, hey, such and such bill came and went by, and there was a big stink about it on the internet. How many phone calls did you receive? How many people, real live-blooded human beings in your district, called your phone number that is clearly listed right there on the internet and said, "Excuse me, Representative so-and-so, I'd like to talk to you about this bill and why I support it"? How many phone calls did you receive? And so often the answer they'll tell us is in a whole year, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3, maybe not even that, maybe 0, And so we know, I don't want to call out any names. I know you're more than happy to talk about the libertarians. We know for a fact that these people are not getting the phone calls and the emails. And I'm loath to even say emails. Forget that. Phone calls. Actually, be firm, but be polite, saying, this bill is currently on the docket. I'd like you to schedule this for a hearing. There's going to be a hearing. I'd like you to vote in favor of this bill. It's shocking how many people are absolutely, completely unplugged from the legislative process. And look, if you don't care about, Senate Bill 4204 about plastic straws, whatever, I'll let you got more important things to do. But if something like this that you actually are passionate about comes along, and then you see in the news, oh, it was voted down 7-4. Oh, well, better luck next year. It's like, well, what did you do? I bet those 7 people that voted against, I bet you didn't talk to a single one of them. And so I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, but I wanted to get that off.
True, and I will add that my coworker Diego always says, retweets are not phone calls. We don't need more internet activism. We don't need you tweeting at us saying you support this bill. We need you to either chip in $10 a month. I'm not the church. I'm not asking for a 20% tithe of your income. I'm asking for $10. Or you make a couple of phone calls with Diego. That's what we need, and that's what you ought to do. It's not much, so you damn well better do it.
Amen, brother. And by the way, you got to hook me up with one of those shirts. I'm liking that.
I cannot do that because I can tell you that these special Defend the Guard shirts, they're not for sale. You can't buy them anywhere. You know how you get these? You make phone calls. That's a true fact. Our best activists get shirts like this.
Ooh.
That's an added incentive. But if you don't make calls, you get nothing. You can't buy your way into this movement. It's only through hard work, blood, sweat, and tears.
Ooh.
And that's why people need to sign up.
How about that? I like that a lot. Well, I'm afraid we're already starting to run a little bit over time, but if I can borrow you for just a few more minutes, we have to get something at least it maybe slightly less important than Defend the Guard, but still pretty darn important. Hunter, I know that you're a big movie buff. I know you post about films, classic and otherwise. I know you tweeted the other day that the second of the most, I should say the most recent Dune series, because there's been more than a few, you said that you thought that was the greatest science fiction film of all time, and you would not be entertaining any arguments. So I'll just let the audience stew with that, but I'm going to challenge you with maybe the hardest question that you've faced yet. And of course, I'm giving it to you in our last minute of the interview. Hunter, name your top 5 films of all time.
My top 5 films of all time, and I actually have a top 10 list always at the ready, just in my pocket.
Okay, all right.
Top 5, number 1 is absolutely Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. I think that movie, more than any other I've ever seen, I think really demonstrates humanity and the purpose of people and what makes our lives worth living. It's a movie that gets it. It really gets it. And besides that, it's hilarious. And I will add that, of course, it takes place in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. I'm from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and they actually mention my hometown twice in the movie. Oh. And even though that it was actually filmed in central Illinois, that so much of the landscape, the people, their dress, the houses, what they look like, how they're lined up, just everything about the scenery looks exactly like my childhood in the town I grew up in. And that's also a very personal, special spot for me. Second would have to be Scrooged with Bill Murray, if you're noticing a pattern. I believe that A Christmas Carol is one of the greatest stories ever told. It is the cornerstone of the Western canon. It's a perfect story, and it's a perfectly adaptable to really any kind of time, any kind of situation. It's a beautiful story. And Scrooged is my favorite because not only, again, is it hilarious and Bill Murray is a gift from God, but I love the particular ending after he's learned his lesson. He is manic. He's acting insane, and he's kind of freaking people out. And I think if you were to kind of look at that and say, oh, someone changed around their whole worldview in one night after being visited by 3 spirits, that they get the lesson now, you would act very crazy. Third would have to be Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which I think is the greatest superhero movie of all time, is a pretty much near perfect film. And I think it has one of the greatest lessons that you can ever impart, because the central lesson of that movie is not with great power comes great responsibility, like the first one, which is also a good motto. But the second one's lesson is that sometimes to do what's right, you have to give up the thing you want the most. It's not a movie that, like everything else that's been produced in the past 30 years, tell you never give up on your dreams, follow your dreams. You know, it's bland, it's a platitude. We see it all the time. It's a movie that's brave enough to tell you, hey, you have an obligation to do what's right first and foremost. And sometimes that means giving up on your dreams. Sometimes that means putting aside what you want the most because it's the right thing to do and because it's what needs doing. And I think that's an incredible lesson. Number 4 would have to be the original True Grit with John Wayne from 1969. It's my all-time favorite Western. I'm a big fan of the Western genre, a big fan of John Wayne. I grew up watching those movies with my dad, and I adore it. Every time I watch the original True Grit, it picks up my mood. It's It makes me smile. There's so many things I like about it, but I know you're running out of time, so I'll keep it short. It's just an incredible movie, and for anyone who's only seen the Coen Brothers remake, I really encourage you to go back and watch the original. It is a very different vibe. It's much more of the traditional triumphalism you see in classic westerns, but it's just a great movie. And number 5, it's the original Godfather, which goes without saying. And I think I'm actually in the minority of preferring the first one over Godfather 2. And like a real Italian, I've never seen The Godfather 3, so I've only seen the first 2 of the trilogy. But because my dad showed me them growing up, and he never showed me the third one, so I don't have to see it. The second one is a phenomenal movie, and I understand arguments that say it's a better movie, but I really like the growth of Michael's character in the first one. I think it's a tighter story. And yeah, I would have to say those are my top 5. And maybe in a future episode, I can give you my 6 through 10.
Well, we will definitely have to schedule a return visit, hopefully in the very near future, where we don't talk about any of this political BS and we just talk about films, because we are out of time, which means
nitty-gritty of what matters, Alan.
Yeah, I know, right? And we don't have any time for me to give any remarks. All I will say is that of your top 5, I appreciate the fact that you had comedy. You had a superhero movie, you had a Western, and of course you have one of the greatest all-time suspense thrillers in there. So you know, it's all. I almost feel like that if your 6 through 10 has like a sci-fi, fantasy, and a horror, you've done it. You've covered the whole. So I really appreciate that about you, Hunter. Hunter, really quick, again, where can people go to support you and check out more of your content?
Best way is to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Durensis, just my name. I also encourage people to follow Bring Our Troops Home at Troops Home US on Twitter. As I mentioned before earlier in the interview, there's our YouTube page, Bring Our Troops Home. You can find all of the Defend the Guard hearings. You can hear a lot of great speeches. It's a great archive. And people can check out more of our work at defendtheguard.us and bringourtroopshome.us. Don't forget to sign up to volunteer to Phone Bank, defendtheguard.us/phone bank. And don't forget to donate.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think you've done it again. I'm serious. Stay on the line during the commercial break. You and I are going to schedule when we're going to talk film and maybe a little TV, but probably mostly film. Guys, we're going to be back to wrap up the show right after this commercial break. Don't go away.
If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley.
Like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV. You can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/Alan Mosley TV. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Alan Mosley TV. But if you're more of a listener than a watcher, get us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice, thanks to Spotify. It's Too Late with Alan Mosley or Alan Mosley TV. Don't forget to get your tickets to the 7th annual It's Too Late live show, coming to you Saturday, May 17th in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee.
Woo!
Dave, do you have a final thought?
I love anything Defend the Guard. That's a great initiative, and anything anybody can do to support it is awesome.
We actually have a whole bunch more Defend the Guard news that's happened since Hunter and I talked. It actually passed the Senate in Arizona. Moving on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was just today. Yeah, you got to go to defendtheguard.us. That was the website. Take a look at how things are going across the country. You can even click a little link there to see how you can help out. There's a bunch of links there in chat where you can help us out. We need people to buy their tickets to join us at this year's live event, which is going to be a ton of fun. Dave and I were just talking during the break. Like, think of all the jokes that were too risque for TV that we couldn't even say on the show. But we will tell every one of them. We.
You got a mouse in your pocket?
We will. We will. I'm gonna do every single time I know I'm gonna say the N-word. I'm gonna say, "Hey Dave, have you heard of this?" And then that way everyone can be looking at you.
Yeah. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of It's Too Late, and we will see you next week. Are we doing an after party?
We didn't even discuss that. I don't know.
This is us discussing it.
Oh, that's what we do here. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't done one because you were sick and stuff.
Yeah, we could do one. I mean, if you think we could do one without you just talking the whole thing.
You know me. I'm a talker.
Oh, Celeste says do a milkshake tier list. Oh. See, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do because, like, how am I going to have all the milkshakes? Yeah.